the world does, but end of the day, let's move on.
Yeah. Okay. So now we got Jamie Pickett versus Denis Tiuliulin. I know that's probably not how you say it, but I like to say it like Tiul
Tiuliulin.
Tiuliulin. So I'm just gonna call him Denis for this because otherwise I'm just gonna be funny about his last name. So I like Jamie Pickett in that win against Joseph Holmes. Joseph Holmes, friend of the program, but it was Ugly Man's debut, so we got to cut him a little bit of slack. Pickett did a really good job of controlling the cage in that fight, landing damage against Ugly Man, changing up his striking between head and body, kicks and punches, backing Ugly Man up against the cage, using that cage side clinch. And he has more UFC octagon experience than Denis in this one. And while he has been finishing there, I'm willing to take a guy that's been winning against UFC novices, because it looks like right now with Jamie Pickett, they're putting him up against a lot of guys that are, fresher to the UFC. He's kind of like a test for those guys. It's not a pick that I'm super confident in, but I like that he can avoid damage over 3 rounds while sustaining a striking attack. The thing about Denis is that he is a bit of a knockout puncher. So as long as Jamie Pickett does what he did against Ugly Man Joe and, uses strikes intelligently to back him up against the cage, and then when things get dangerous, get out of there. I think that Pickett is more likely to win this one over the course of 15 minutes. However, Denis could catch Jamie Pickett in this one. And that seems like what he has a knack for doing. He also has a knack for getting caught himself. So I think being that Pickett could win this by catching him or by doing it over 15 rounds as opposed to just having to catch somebody like Denis, I'll be rolling with Jamie Pickett in this one. Not a pick I'm super confident about, but it's the one I got to take because we do the whole main card. So what do you got, Tom?
Yeah, it's really difficult to do a lot of tape study on Denis Tiuliulin because it's just not readily available out there. I mean, it's even on Fight Pass. Like when you go and try and watch his most recent fight, I think his only fight in the UFC against Alishkab Kizarev, it's nowhere to be found. He, lost by submission, a rear naked choke. 2 months ago, I mean, it seems like both of these guys' weaknesses can be the ground game at times and getting subbed. But also, have Denis Tiuliulin getting KO'd with elbows, I think, fairly recently. No, sorry. Back that up. He KO'd somebody who was 7-9 with elbows, and then he also got a TKO in his 5th fight back 2.5 years ago against the guy whose first professional MMA fight it was against. So I'm not liking the level of competition that he's had. And additionally, not a great performance first time into the UFC. You could say, the same thing that we said about Ugly Man Joe. Maybe it was just a bad first experience in the UFC, but I don't see the track record of beating competent opponents for Denis. Whereas Jamie Pickett, he's been in there, not with the best guys, but he's been in there with some decent competition. Lariano Staropoli, Ugly Man Joe, who's went on, looked really good in his follow-up fight. Losing via submission is not something that Jamie Pickett has to worry too much about against Denis Tiuliulin. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Jamie Pickett. Don't feel super duper confident about it, but I think Jamie Pickett by decision. I think, like you said, he's going to manage his distance, throw in a couple punches, get out of range, and be able to, just kind of win the points over 15 minutes. So, yeah, I'm doing Jamie Pickett by decision. I guess technically that would make this a super lock, but not feeling the most confident about it. Maybe we'll get more confident as the time goes on. But yeah, going with Jamie Pickett. And do we have odds on these guys? So the problem with us doing it, on Sundays now, it's going to be a lot more difficult for us to find the odds. But if you want to move on to our next fight,